It was a chilly autumn morning in Berlin, the kind where the wind carries the scent of roasted coffee beans and fallen leaves whisper across cobblestone streets. Inside a cozy corner cafe near Alexanderplatz, a man in his early 30s sat by the window, quietly stirring his coffee while his little daughter, maybe 6 years old, played with a worn-out teddy bear. His name was Daniel Hartmann, though most people just knew him as Dan. His rugged face and calm eyes suggested a man who had lived through both love and loss. A single father who'd learned to hide his pain behind gentle smiles. Across from him, his daughter, Sophie, looked up and giggled. "Papa, look! The bear's drinking coffee too!" Daniel chuckled softly, the kind of laugh that hides exhaustion beneath affection. He had no idea that this ordinary morning would soon collide with a destiny far greater than he'd ever imagined. The cafe door swung open with a gust of wind, and in walked a young woman dressed elegantly in a beige trench coat, her blonde hair glinting under the soft lights. Heads turned, not just because she was beautiful, but because she carried herself with an air of power and mystery. She was Clara von Adler, heiress to the Adler Industries empire, one of the wealthiest families in Germany. But her face looked tired, her eyes distant, as if even luxury had failed to give her peace. She walked to the counter, ordered her usual cappuccino in fluent German, and sat 2 tables away from Daniel without even glancing around. For her, this cafe was a place to escape from reporters, expectations, and loneliness. But fate, that silent puppeteer, had other plans that morning. Sophie's teddy bear slipped from her hands and rolled under Clara's table. The little girl ran after it, bumping slightly into Clara's leg. "I'm sorry, ma'am," Sophie said softly in English, her cheeks turning red. Clara smiled for the first time that morning, her icy composure melting just a little. "That's all right, sweetheart," she replied in her accented English, picking up the bear and handing it back. "He's cute," Sophie nodded. "His name is Mr. Buttons," Clara chuckled, a sound she hadn't made in weeks. "Oh, Mr. Buttons, huh? A very fine gentleman indeed." Just then, Daniel rose from his seat and approached. "Sophie, what did I tell you about running around?" he said gently. Clara turned toward him, and their eyes met for the first time. Something electric, passed between them. She noticed the faint sadness behind his polite smile, and he noticed the loneliness behind her calm elegance. "I'm really sorry," Daniel said, his voice low but steady. "She didn't mean to bother you." Clara shook her head. "No bother at all. She's adorable." For a brief moment they both smiled. And then Clara turned her head and muttered something under her breath in German. Something she didn't think he'd understand. "Arm looted aber sie schienen glücklicher als ich, the poor people, but they seem happier than me." Daniel froze. His heart beat a little faster. He looked straight at her and said calmly, in perfect German, "Ich verstehe jedes Wort, das Sie gesagt haben." "I understand every word you said." Her Clara's world stopped. Her cup nearly slipped from her hand. No one, no stranger, had ever replied to her like that, especially not in flawless, accent-free German. You speak German?" she stammered. Daniel smiled faintly. "Lived here long enough to pick it up." But there was something more in his tone. Something that told her he wasn't just a tourist or a struggling expat. Clara felt her face flush with embarrassment. "I didn't mean." "It's all right," Daniel interrupted softly. "You were right." His voice was calm but laced with something deeper, a quiet pain she couldn't yet understand. Sophie tugged at his hand. "Papa, can we go?" Daniel nodded, paid the bill and turned to leave, but Clara's curiosity refused to let him vanish into the crowd. "Wet," she said quickly, standing up. I'm sorry if I offended you. That wasn't my intention." Daniel turned back. "Don't worry about it. Words only hurt when they're meant to." And with that, he walked out, Sophie skipping beside him. Clara stood frozen, her heart unexpectedly heavy, her mind filled with questions. Who was this man? Why did his German sound so perfect, so native, when he claimed to just pick it up? And why did his eyes seem to carry stories of wars and wounds she couldn't begin to imagine? That night, Clara couldn't sleep. She stared out of her penthouse window overlooking the city lights, her thoughts drifting back to that cafe. For years, people had treated her with fake smiles and scripted words, but that stranger, that single father, had looked at her with quiet honesty. She wanted to see him again. The next morning, she returned to the same cafe, and again the next day. On the third morning, she finally saw him sitting in the same corner, reading a worn-out German novel while Sophie drew little hearts on tissue paper. Clara took a deep breath and approached. "May I?" she asked. Daniel looked up, surprised. "Of course." She sat down, her hands trembling slightly. "I've been thinking about what I said that day." He smiled faintly. "You don't have to." "But I want to," she insisted. "I judged you without knowing you. That was wrong." Daniel studied her for a moment, then said quietly, "People judge what they don't understand. It's normal? Still," she continued, "I'd like to make it up to you. Let me buy you a coffee." Daniel hesitated, then nodded. "All right." Over coffee, Clara found herself talking, really talking, for the first time in years. About her family's empire, the pressure to be perfect, and the loneliness that came with being Adler's daughter. Daniel listened quietly, never interrupting, just nodding at the right moments. When she finally stopped, she looked at him curiously. "You're a good listener," she said softly. "I've had practice," he replied. "My daughter talks a lot." They both laughed, and for the first time, Clara felt normal. But as she looked closer, she noticed a scar peeking from under his sleeve, a deep one, old but unmistakable. "You were in the military?" she asked. Daniel's expression changed. The air grew heavier. "A long time ago," he said. "Different life." Clara wanted to ask more, but the look in his eyes told her not to. Instead, she smiled. "You know, you don't seem like someone who belongs to poor people, as I stupidly said." Daniel chuckled. Appearances deceive both ways. Over the next few weeks, their paths kept crossing, sometimes by coincidence, sometimes by choice. Sophie grew fond of Clara, and Clara, in turn, found herself drawn to their little world of simplicity and warmth. But something about Daniel remained hidden, like a door he refused to open. One evening, while walking Sophie home, Clara noticed a black car parked across the street. Tinted windows, engine running. "Do you know that car?" she asked. Daniel's face darkened. "No, but I've seen it before." The next day, he didn't show up at the café, nor the day after. When Clara finally asked the barista, he shrugged. He said he was leaving the city. Clara's heart sank. Leaving? Why? She ran outside, dialing the cafe owner, who knew Daniel's old address. She rushed there, only to find the apartment door ajar, a few boxes half-packed, and Sophie's teddy bear lying on the floor. "Daniel," she called out. No answer. Then, a low voice behind her said, "You shouldn't be here." She turned. 2 men in black suits stood there, their accents American. "Who are you?" she demanded. "We're looking for Daniel Hartman." One replied coldly. "He's not who you think he is." Clara's pulse raced. "What do you mean?" But they were already walking away. That night, as the rain poured over Berlin, Clara sat in her car, clutching Sophie's teddy bear. She knew she couldn't let this end here. Something deep inside told her Daniel wasn't just an ordinary single dad. He was hiding something that scared powerful men enough to follow him. And the next time she saw him, she was going to find out what it was. But for now, she whispered into the darkness, "Daniel, who are you really?"